All right, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are. We'll get started here shortly with today's webinar. We thank you all for registering and joining us, and we plan to make this a productive and interactive session today. So looking forward to getting started. We'll give folks a few more minutes, but thank you for being here.
Oh, we've got all the heavy hitters coming in.
Well, now that I see Aaron Bain in the audience, now we're set. For those just joining us, thanks for being here. We'll get started in a minute or two, and we'll be off and running. Okay, Naresh, Justin, Matt, you all ready to get going?
Let's go.
Okay. To our audience, thank you for being here. Thank you very much for joining us today. Excited to get into the latest in what we're seeing in offensive security. So, the ethical hacking that we're doing from Optimized Cyber, the latest in defenses from Arctic Wolf as they keep up with the AI defense capabilities, and then how CloudSource, our valued partner in all of this, can help make all of that work for your business and more. So, we're excited to dive in today. We're going to be talking about keeping up with AI based attacks, the evolving attack methods and defense methods, specifically around applications, but really your environment as a whole. So you'll walk away with some good tangible things to implement regardless of what your specific environment looks like today. I'm Michael Gallo, Director of Sales through our channel partners at Optimize Cyber, and we have an excellent panel today of folks joining us. So Justin Fatouche is a colleague of mine at Optimize Cyber. He is our Director of Offensive Security, a red team operator. He does about 60 to 70 pen tests annually. So he is literally the one on the front lines using the same attack methods that the bad guys are using to test our customers, all sorts of environments, defenses that he sees, and techniques that our team is using to try to bypass those and help our customers find those weak spots. Then we've got Naresh Samlal, CEO of CloudSource. They do an excellent job in specializing in virtual desktops, VoIP, private cloud, and before this, Naresh, a long and successful career as an IT practitioner. So you'll provide great insights from your perspective. And then Matt Williams from Arctic Wolf works with Arctic Wolf's top MSP partners. And Matt has an interesting perspective as he's kind of the connecting resource between Arctic Wolf SOC, so a very large security operations center, uh, a huge agentic SOC that they've introduced, and then the concierge security team members who work closely with our partners. So Matt's kind of on the front lines between the partners, the defenders at Arctic Wolf, and he'll provide their perspective today. Guys, I'll go around and let you fill in the color if there's anything that you want to add, but just want to make sure our guests today are familiar with who we've got here on the panel this afternoon.
Justin, you want to kick us off? Well, I guess the OCD in me wants to start from the top.
Yeah, yeah, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Justin Fatouche here. Been pen testing for around 10 years now. Absolutely love what I do. And I guess today to talk about landscapes and pen testing in 2026 and kind of what we are doing. Obviously it's less about finding one obvious vulnerability and more about understanding how attackers chain together identity gaps and cloud permissions and SaaS integrations and AI tooling and exposed edge devices and weak operational processes and how we chain all those together to essentially gain access and then expand that access into privileged accounts and privileged systems. So I guess the way to frame it for today, right? people, attackers nowadays, we don't need one giant vulnerability or one CVE. We need, 3 or 4 small gaps that really it owns, right? Things that aren't being protective and actively monitored. Um, Kind of jumping into that. Um,
Yeah, I think Justin, that'll be perfect. And like I think that frames today's conversation really well. And then we'll get into that and then the defensive side of security as well. Um, I did want to give Naresh and Matt a chance to introduce themselves. And I got to make a joke, Justin. So for the audience, Justin in his past life did physical penetration testing as well. So trying to get in on premises to various organizations, see if someone will hold the door open for him and find what data he can that way. And so he keeps a low profile and had to point that out with the incognito profile picture there for you, Justin. But with that, we'll turn it over to Naresh. Just fill in the caller for me, Naresh, then we'll pass it to Matt and we'll get started.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I was just thinking Justin's like, in witness protection, based on that kind of profile and background, right? But listen, and Justin kind of touched on it, something that resonates today in the theme of cybersecurity for me is 27 seconds. 27 seconds. And Justin, I'm really excited about how you're going to dive and expose this, but 27 seconds fast, it's actually like a normal observed breakout time right now. So I'll leave that right there and we'll dive into what that really means throughout this conversation. But CEO and founder of CloudSource, we are an MSSP, MSP. We call it a lot of different things. We don't like to put labels. Our clients trust us to protect their data and provide 24/7 US-based support. Our clients are all over the country. We also have international clients as well. We're backed by folks like Justin from Optimize and also the Arctic Wolf team with Matt and his small army behind us, as with CloudSource being an extension of these guys. Client facing, being the broker for the conversation, the call that gets answered when our clients have a problem, but again, supported by powerful teams that we have on here. So, Matt?
Yeah, thanks, Naresh. And as these guys have said, my name is Matt Williams. I work on our MSP team at Arctic Wolf. So specializing in the relationship between our tried and tested MSP partners like CloudSource, but also connections to the Security Operations Center and the concierge security teams. So I'm here to kind of talk about, shed a little bit of light on how we are looking and working to fight that 27 seconds that these guys talked about. Everything's getting faster. So I'm here to shed some light on how we defend against that.
Great. Gentlemen, thank you. Looking forward to the conversation today. Logistically, for our audience, you can direct any questions. We'll save questions for the end. Or let me put it this way. We'll have a dedicated Q&A time at the end where we'll open it up to everybody. But if you have questions or things that are interesting as we go, drop those in the Q&A. Those will come to me and I'll find a good time to insert those into the conversation. So you can use the Q&A box throughout. Otherwise, we'll open it up to a broad questions conversation at the end. And so, yeah, with that, let's get started, guys. We're not going to have a ton of slides today. I want to keep this interactive, free flowing, and just maybe we'll start with Justin on the offensive side as we're going about breaking in. I think it's interesting, like how is AI reshaping the attack methods that we're using, that the bad guys are using, because the bad guys are using the same methods as the pen testers, but also what are some of the basics that can't be forgotten as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So 27 seconds, it references the breakout time, right? How long it takes from initial access to move laterally into another compromised system. AI specifically is helping us reduce that time, right? So right now it's, fastest recorded time, 27 seconds. That's actually down from like roughly half an hour, right, prior to AI. And what that speaks to is the fact that we collect on average during a week long internal assessment. We're talking somewhere around 3,000 plus artifacts. So that's all data points that we as people need to be able to analyze and need to be able to understand and then chain together with other issues in that from the same output. in order to move laterally and move vertically in privilege escalation. So it's really just it's helping speed that up like a lot. However, we do find a lot of the times that a lot of what we, a lot of those access points, it's like AI helped us find credentials that were stored in share drive, right? Or UAC bypass because privileges aren't assigned properly.
So I think that's a good point, because like you're saying that with a smile, because we can hear about the latest, all the AI hype, but it's like some of the basics still need to be done. Like the vulnerabilities can be exploited, but if you get into an environment and people aren't practicing least privilege or things like that, like what are some of those basics that our audience could implement today without even requiring any sort of new technology or new awareness of new tools or anything like that?
Yeah, it's really about going through like AD configurations and understanding permissions, and superseding permissions, and then essentially, like you said, adhering to least privilege. So those people who don't need access shouldn't have access. You should only have access to what you need to have access to. So a lot of what we find is like, hey, why do all of our users have local admin? That makes it really easy for us to gain persistence into a network, and then even more so allows us to get that first set of credentials off of the compromised host. With local admin, you can access LSAS, or the LSA, and dump those password hashes. So it makes it pretty easy, but we still need to keep those things like privilege control, right? App locker, what do they call it? Lapse, which is essentially it controls local admin and rotates the passwords, things like that. Still extremely important. We're gonna take the hackers like to take the easiest route, right? And if that route is somebody's weak credentials, or a service account that nobody's used, that not protected, password sitting in share drive, that's what we're going to use.
Password doesn't expire also.
Yeah. Yeah. Big one. Big one.
So Justin touched on how the AI can help us, or the bad guys, find the vulnerabilities a lot faster, especially going through enormous amounts of recon data, open source intelligence, all of that. It can make that very easy and quick for the attackers. Matt, on the defensive side, how does Arctic Wolf keep up with defending those? When people are moving that quickly, how do you keep up with defending that?
Yeah. I think, Justin, you teed it up really well as what is the challenge now? What is I think we're all just lucky Justin's on our side, right? On the good guys, but there are bad guys out there just like Justin who are utilizing these things for bad, right? To gain access, to do harmful things. And so with these new challenges, what is Arctic Wolf doing to meet that? And what we've done is, long ago, there was a process started, with the very first, the dawn of AI, we'll call it, where Arctic Wolf's backend teams have started building and refining our agentic SOC that powers, our platform. And so what that looks like is over 300 AI agents that are trained on our 14 years of security, experience from our humans that have been experts that whole time. There's, roadblocks and things set up for them so they are, not able to guess. And whenever they have questions, they still loop in the over 1,200 security engineers that we have in our security operations center. So it's a very robust system. And what the agents and the AI is able to do is move at the speed of the attackers that are using also AI on the attacking side. Traditional human-based security operations centers, the speed just isn't there anymore, right? We used to do that. That used to be our whole thing. We were all human-led, and we had great response times, and we had a very valid, ticket and alert system. But with the dawn of AI, we just need to move faster. And so this is our solve for that. And so that's how we're looking to move with the attackers here. And we are able to, meet them where it is. while still keeping that human expertise in the loop.
Definitely a shift from Arctic Wolf from that human-led SOC to the agentic SOC, but kind of using those two forces together. So then, Naresh, from your perspective, because you see this holistically with your customers, not just from a security and an offensive and defensive, but you're looking at kind of their environment as a whole. How does all this tie together on your side of things?
So, my perspective is going to be one from a business risk strategy and just kind of, overall oversight and very complimentary because, Justin's talking to the tech related folks on here. Matt's definitely talking about how they execute that. And I'll contribute from a more strategic perspective. And what does that mean to the business? Listen, everybody's on the AI hype. We're actually on AI fatigue now. We're
Yeah.
past that, right?
I am.
Exactly.
I don't know, Naresh, if we put AI in the title of this webinar, if it hurts attendance or kills attendance.
Right.
About another AI webinar.
So I've been fighting that hype. And if you follow me on LinkedIn or any of my socials, if you don't, you should. But you will see largely our marketing is counter AI. And to what Justin started off talking, man, AI is obviously compressing time. And a lot of people are seeing how AI is compressing time for innovation, right? In a very offensive manner to their business. But what they're not really understanding and nobody's talking about it enough, and I make it my business to do this, is just what Justin started off alluding to. That breakout time, that observed breakout went from half an hour to 27 seconds. So AI is compressing time for everyone. The guy with good intentions and the guys like Justin, who's probably in another country, dressing up in suits, going to work every single day to do the exact opposite of what Justin's doing, right? And they're using AI too. And quite frankly, they're probably better because they're ahead of it. And so AI is compressing time. And Justin talked a lot about, you know, how it is uncovering and surfacing flaws in your security framework anyway. It didn't create these flaws. It is now compressing the time to find and exploit those things. So just like AI is a huge proponent to take advantage of a market that allows you to innovate faster, it is also opening up your defenses and helping attackers find your weaknesses that much quicker. And so I say all that to say we've got to use AI to defend against that. And so on one hand, it's a necessary evil, right? Because we come from a defensive space in a lot of ways using AI because you need to, because reality is AI enabled attacks that's 100% of what's happening today.
Mm-hmm.
Right? No attacker is not using AI. They were using AI before it was GPT. They were doing that stuff a long time ago. And so we have to do that. And so, Arctic Wolf being at the forefront, something really, really critical. AI, I compare to like a fighter jet, right? You give the keys to a trained pilot, they're going to do amazing things with it, right? The same pilot could have good intentions and bad intentions. The outcomes are going to vary, right? But when you have AI led by what I call HI, human intelligence, which is, I believe, the sweet spot, that pilot, that driver, using it as a tool, that's when it becomes incredibly powerful. And so that's why we partner with Arctic Wolf. That's why we're an extension of that team for our customers, because at the end of the day, going back to Justin's point, the framework and how things are executed comes from a place of human intelligence, and AI is a tool to accelerate the time to deliver results. And that's how it should be, as opposed to AI being the only thing you're trusting and depending on. And so that's a lot of where we come in at our position on AI. Now, yes, we use AI heavily, but it's all led by human experts. And that's equivalent across the board with our stack here and the team that we've assembled, right? It's at the end of the day, we were human experts first that were handed AI to accelerate the work that we're doing to protect our clients in that way. So
Yeah.
Hope
I
that.
like to think of it like a really fast assistant, right? They really do help, in things like data compilation and analysis and stuff like that. Um, but also now, we're actually also expanding attack surfaces, right? Because AI systems are now a part of the attack
Yes.
surface. Once we start out, with that, companies are deploying chatbots and co-pilots and internal knowledge assistants and agents and workflow automations, and
Yep.
all
And
of
it's
those systems connect to email, chat, source code, ticketing.
exactly, exactly.
So it becomes more part of your attack surface as well. So there are definitely some security concerns that go along with AI. But it all really comes down to, are AI actions logged clearly enough for incident response? And are we taking the necessary steps to implement AI strategically and securely?
What are some of those common, like as more companies introduce, or any organization introduces more AI functionality into their internal workflows, like Copilot and things like that? What are some of the security gaps that are most prevalent that you're seeing, as far as maybe data that can be prompted,
Yep.
things that can go wrong with some of those things that you've seen?
Yeah. So actually, like AI is, it's not no longer just prompt injection. Like in the beginning, it was like I can get, AI to jailbreak and, give me ways to create ransomware, right? Um, Now, because we are integrating it into emails and chat and source code and ticketing systems, we've got to worry about AI disclosing identity and access control, data exposure. So think, hey, like internal emails, will AI read my emails to somebody who's not me? Tool use, so you're giving an agent the ability to execute code on your machine. Can I access that same agent and have it execute code for me? Now it all of a sudden looks like a legitimate service, a legitimate code being executed, but it's not, right? And then obviously, there's the other things, right? Being able to, get free services by convincing your chatbot that there's a coupon code you didn't have, and then it searches for coupon codes, and it puts it in there for you.
What about some of the risks people have of, like, they're storing things on drives that they think maybe aren't or not publicly accessible, but internally accessible, and now all of a sudden that data is actually being searched by the AI tools? Like, what are some of the things that, like, you're mentioning passwords earlier? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Passwords, PII. People save a lot of things to their computers, work computers, home computers. But what they don't realize is that a lot of this stuff is auto synced and auto saved to like network drives. One of the first things we do when we get into a network, is we run a tool called Snaffler, which essentially queries SMB drives and network drives for specific like key phrases like password, passwd, username, and hundreds of others. Right. It generates a lot of noise, but it also tends to we tend to find things like API keys, passwords, GPP passwords, stored credentials. People sometimes put all their passwords in an Excel document on their desktop named passwords.xlsx, right? So we're looking for things like that as soon as we get in, and when we find them, that information is now ours and used to not only move laterally, move privilege escalate, and then in some cases it's the deciding factor of how we were able to move from our initial compromised host to the next one, which has a domain admin logged in, and then stealing a token, and now all of a sudden you have domain admin shell, right? And it's really easy from there to, you have the keys to the kingdom at that point.
Naresh, I saw you smiling. It sounded like maybe that sparked a thought there.
Yeah. So with we've had, in the last in recent times, we've had, again, fighting this whole AI thing and trying to be on the solution side of the house, as opposed to being, another one of the riding the AI wave. Um, we had clients, and you exactly as you talked about it, how do you privatize your data is what I'll say, right? We've essentially so at CloudSource, one of the differentiators we have is we own a private cloud. So we are able to, in a very secure manner, um, host client data where they know where it is, how it's being protected, and they have a throat to choke, right? And it's all US based. So a lot of controls without public cloud risks and costs. But what has happened is uh, while we're talking about, the same person that may have a XLS, file on their desktop called passwords, there's also we'll laugh, it's real, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's also on the other side of that, the very educated, and very smart and with healthy paranoia type of customer that says, we do not want to expose our company data at all to public sources. And so um, that's generally the customer that we have, the one who appreciates the value of security and understands their data is gold. And so as a result of that, them wanting to take advantage of all the innovations of AI, but not giving up the security exposure to it, we've actually implemented solutions around privatizing AI in the sense of either hosting um, uh, LLMs or tapping into safely and securely the intelligence of public models on their data, keeping it safe, secure, and in their control at all times. And that's been a massive, massive competitive advantage where we're able to blend the best of both worlds. And so when you talk about, somebody uploading files to not their computer, but also OneDrive and all these other places, I think there's a big misconception that two things. If you're using reputable public data stores like OneDrive and others, people think number one, they're backed up, and number two, they're safe and secure. And that is a huge mistake. As we know, right, Matt, with Arctic Wolf tools, you're able to penetrate and protect against those systems naturally when we actually implement your services. So, but the reason is because it's fully exposed. And so our private cloud is really an answer to that, that we are able to stand behind, and our customers are now achieving a competitive advantage because they are able to reap the benefits of all of the cool AI innovations without exposing their data. And keeping their data, which is again their competitive advantage, data is their goal, keeping it where they need it and being able to use AI in a very effective way to really make business decisions, capitalize on market opportunities and things like that. And so we are uniquely positioned to take advantage of that. That's not very common, and I recognize that us having a private cloud makes that possible. But that's one of those things that we actually offer to our customers, and it's been as you can imagine, just a massive, massive hit. And again, protected and powered by the solutions with the folks at the table here. So we know we can sleep at night by being able to provide solutions like that.
And some of this starts to, I think people start to wonder, okay, well, I don't have a huge team. Some of this stuff can be a lot of work, or, this can be really expensive to keep up with some of the stuff that you guys are talking about. Matt, specifically, like, how does this work for an SMB organization or a mid-market organization that, we may have folks on here who are the IT team, and it's hard to keep up. How does Arctic Wolf help in that regard?
Yeah. I think, we Arctic Wolf as a whole provides very robust cybersecurity solution that seems somewhat overwhelming sometimes to smaller security teams. People are thinking, hey, that's got to have a high price and whatnot. But that is exactly where we come into the relationship, with CloudSource. So let me back up just a little bit here to where Justin and Naresh were talking about the attack surface and how AI has opened that up. Arctic Wolf has built a platform that connects to all of these things that these gentlemen have been talking about. we have our tool sets and our platform pulling data from these things. So, when Justin or evil Justin, gets in one spot, that might not trigger some traditional tools. If it's not on something that they're monitoring, and if he moves to another spot that they're not monitoring as well, like this person can jump around to different things that just have no eyes on them. And so we adhere, and through CloudSource, adhere to the broad visibility concept of being able to see it all. If it's in your network, we want to see it. We want to put that in front of our agents and our humans so that they can make the best decision of what's going on, whether it's a false positive, so instead of like, a random vendor shutting down a computer, even though it was completely normal activity, or not shutting it down when they need to. So that's what the differentiator here for Arctic Wolf is, gathering all of these things with the help of CloudSource, putting that in front of our agents and our humans to make the best and fastest decision that we can. And so, that's a lot, right? It's going to take a lot for our technical teams. Well, that's the kicker as well, is this is a very low lift for customer technical teams when we work through CloudSource. Again, they are a tried and true MSP partner with us. And so between us and them, we handle almost all of the work. Obviously, your teams will have information that we need to gather, whether it's different, connecting like tools and things like that. We just need access to those things. CloudSource would help gather that. But other than that, like between our teams, we're configuring all of the things we're putting in the environment. CloudSource is hooking up the sensors and things. And so it really is a low lift for your teams. And because of that, we're able to spin it up quickly. So you can get this extremely robust, broad visibility with, the agentic SOC background in, a month or two, as fully operational. So if you're worried, if you're like, I need something now, like we can do that. We're happy to work at your schedule and your pace. And I know I'm throwing it over to CloudSource, right? I'm putting you guys on the hot seat. We can do it real quick, right, Naresh?
Yeah, my team hates when I do that.
Right.
But the reality is for us is, the average onboarding for us in any capacity is about 30 days. And so sooner with some things, as opposed to others. But, we've done a lot of work together in various industries, from, I guess, industries we can't also talk about, but, healthcare, manufacturing, oil and gas, just across the board. And so, the common denominator between these verticals, and it's common in regulated industries, which is where we work most. But these guys have an appreciation for their data, and they understand a little bit more than the average that, cybersecurity and controls for cybersecurity is not just an insurance checkbox. It's not just to satisfy, a cybersecurity insurance renewal. With a little bit of effort and the right partners, you can get maximum value from what may feel like an obligation because of your industry. But a true partner will extend value into your organization much, much more than just, checking a box, right? And so a lot of what we do with our customers is help them innovate, help them, break down barriers that technology may pose as barriers. Because, you know, um, let's just call it what it is. I've been in technology for a long time, and um, technologists know a lot. Sometimes we think we know everything, right? And I was on the other side of the desk too, right? I was vice president of a billion-dollar healthcare um, organization, and I've seen firsthand how we can be blockers and roadblocks, especially when it comes to security. I understand, and we'll say it all the time. Justin will agree with me. Security is not supposed to be convenient. I get that. But it is still supposed to enable the business to thrive. And we found a sweet spot in how to deliver that, where yes, it can be effective, especially when you use great partnerships, well-developed tools, and human intelligence, such bar none. There is that sweet spot where it can be an enabler to your organization. It can be a competitive advantage to your organization while protecting you. And not just checkbox protection, but real best in class protection. where cybersecurity is a moving target, right? I think we all know that. It's never a set it and forget it. So it's really critical to partner with organizations and partners that understand that it's a moving target and you have to stay relevant. And staying relevant is a gross understatement when we talk about AI, right? You have to. So, Justin, you want to come in on that?
Yeah, absolutely. The balance between security and convenience and business operations is not always an easy one. Um, Most definitely. AI assisted operations on the pen testing side, right? It's helping us do things like create, phishing templates and improve spear phishing. Whereas before you might get an email that's riddled with typos and things like that. Now, with AI, those those things are not really as identifiable, right? These look like standard, legitimate marketing emails sometimes, and yeah, it's pretty crazy out there when it comes to that.
You add voice to it now as
Mhm.
well, right? So it used to be a year ago, not even a year
Yeah,
ago. Okay, when your CEO sends that request in an email to export all the social security numbers or go, t tells their admin to go buy $10,000 worth of gift cards, you make a phone call to verify. Now that phone call is AI, but it's their voice.
Mhm.
yeah,
And so going back to, to your point, it's like this is a moving target that's compressing time so fast in all areas, innovation, but also on the defensive side with security. And you've got to have the partnerships that take that seriously. And that's what they do. Not, oh, we also do cybersecurity. No,
yeah.
that's what they do, right, Justin?
Absolutely, absolutely right. I like to say that a breach or the keys to the kingdom, espionage, business espionage, all of that. It doesn't always require domain admin. Sometimes all you need is a mailbox access, right? That's sometimes enough to get your to achieve your goals, right? Especially in the sense that you know when you can control the narrative and influence behind a breach, as some APTs are doing, which is essentially could stolen data be selectively leaked to harm somebody or a part of a company, right? Um, yeah, things like that. The technical compromise may only be one small part of the operation, but the story around that compromise may be the objective, right? Just kind of food for thought there.
Yeah. I
Interesting.
have a question, if I could, Michael, for Justin. Not to put you on the spot, and it's a loaded question, but if there, because you've done so many and you do this, with your eyes closed, not literally, but it's muscle memory for you, right? You've done so many. So based on your experience in just maybe the last 6 months, um, see, AI is making me only shrink that time because 3 years, it's a total different spectrum, right? But in
Right.
6 months, what's maybe the number one, if you could think of two and three, like every customer, every client, or every pen test you've done, this keeps popping up. It's like the clear, nobody gets this right kind of a vulnerability. Is there
Yeah.
like a one, maybe two, three?
It's honestly, it's gonna sound funny, but it's really not. It's the same offenders as it's been for the last 3 years, honestly. We're talking misconfigurations in SMB, issues with Kerberos authentications, and then issues with Active Directory Certificate Services, ADCS. Those tend to be the top three ways that we from go from like initial compromise to domain compromise, like full domain compromise. Um, that and then essentially like taking advantage of machine accounts and other service accounts that aren't owned by anyone, meaning they're less likely to be monitored. Systems that sometimes don't have the right agents on them, right? The right EDR or endpoint agents. Those sometimes will be a good launch point for these attacks, right? Um, and we find them. Pretty consistently. It's in at least in every internal I've done recently, there are at least one or two misconfigurations in those three services.
and I think we can all agree, and I've been doing this for nearly 30 years. That's been the case forever. Forever. Everyone starts an AD cleanup project that never ends,
Yeah, because
right?
as they clean it up, things change, and then it's like this is not an attack path anymore, but now something slightly different, but still completely related is still an
Right,
attack path.
right.
Take SMB for example. I feel like every 6 months we get like a new SMB issue that pops up, and it's like if you're still using it, which you have to in a lot of cases, but if you're not using it, if it's not signing's not required, and you're not using the latest version of V3 or and not V1, V2, like yeah, it's a pretty easy jump to do things like man in the middle attacks, relaying credentials, capturing network
Right.
credentials coming across the network.
So AI, and my point for that, and you kind of laid it out perfectly, is that this is the same core foundational gaps that has been around for forever. The difference is AI is going to find that and exploit it within 27 seconds today.
Right. It's a lot easier for AI to look at, an output for a /8 network range, which could be a lot when you're doing like full port scan for a /8 CIDR range, right? It's gonna be a lot of data to go through. AI is going to be able to go through and categorize each one of those port scans and each one of the ports open, and then give you an idea of which ones are most likely to be vulnerable to things, which is honestly a game changer in a lot of aspects, and arguably makes pen testing and hacking, um, it makes it slightly easier in a way that makes it to where people who don't necessarily have the technical skill can still do these things.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is scary on its own. And then coming back to the defensive side, I think it's interesting, Justin, how you were showing me previously how like you'll work with the defenders. So like you'll do a pen test, and then you and Arctic Wolf, or some vendors, other vendors do this too. But like, how do the good guys and the bad guys, you're the bad guy in this instance, work
Huh.
together after an engagement to help a customer drive better outcomes? Kind of looking at the cat and mouse game of like, you were trying to do this, Arctic Wolf's trying to stop you, and then you guys helping the customer after the fact.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I don't want to jump in if this was not for me, but I will say, um,
No, it's for you.
specifically with SOCs like Arctic Wolf, security operations systems, they do what they call like an after actions report. So a report showing like everything that was done, everything that was collected, logged, and detected on during the course of our assessment, a week or 2 weeks, whatever that might be. What I do, and what we do at Optimize essentially is I ask for that report, so the detection report, what was detected, and then I do a comparison with my attack logs. So all the things that I did during the assessment, that's terminal logs, C2 logs, all of it, compared to what was detected, and then highlight the things that were not. And the reason we do that is so we can kind of work together, and in more of like a purple team fashion, right? Red team versus blue team. And not only does it help me refine my attacks, knowing, okay, so they're detecting on all of these things that I always do, so I need to change it up a little bit. It helps identify those gaps in detection. So overall, helping defenders better defend, because generally speaking, I try to stay up to date with the most current like APT style attacks. Nowadays it's a lot around uh um like cloud instances, so logging into cloud security, being able to bypass like MFA by using like weak recovery processes, or doing like small vishing, calling, pretending to be somebody saying, hey, I lost my phone, I need to get my MFA reset, and then having it set to your phone instead, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Matt, for the Arctic Wolf side, like all this data from all these pen tests that Arctic Wolf is detecting and stopping, and the real threats that you're detecting and stopping, that gives the platform that's fueling the AI capabilities and the SOC and the threat intelligence how does that data give you an advantage then, because you're constantly feeding this intel back to refine the flywheel.
Right. Yeah, we do that in a couple different ways. On a very customer by customer basis, we have what's called the concierge security team that would work with, in a pen test situation. It's a little harder when it's an actual ransomware or something, but in a pen test situation, would work with the pen testing company, with the pen tester themselves, and really go over like what was done, where we got them, where we missed them, that kind of stuff to really help harden that specific environment, and be like, hey, I got you here. And then the concierge team's like, all right, we're working with CloudSource to get that fixed, and really, in a good scenario, harden that environment. From a more, broad perspective, Arctic Wolf has our own in-house incident response team that is global. And so we do over 1,000 incident response cases every single year, with also what we call the Arctic Wolf Labs team that is threat hunting and doing specific digging into threats they're seeing in the global threat landscape. And we're able to take all of that information from the remediations we did, from what we saw, from how they got in, and then from the research that we have teams doing, and we dump that all into our platform to form this like global network. If we saw, customer A over in Germany, they had this, vulnerability that wasn't patched, whatever, they got in this way, we can program that into our platform as a detection to then span the entire network. We have over 10,000 customers globally. And so that network can be quite large. And we're able to take the data and the information we're learning from this specific customer and cross the board, kind of check that box, make sure that that is safe. And so that is the way that we kind of handle threats and things. And it provides a lot of information into our platform to help make these detections quickly and effectively.
Yeah, I like to say as an offensive security, as an offensive guy, pen tester, if I'm doing my job correctly year over year, my job is going to get harder, right? So it is a moving goalpost at times, right? But it's all to try to make everything better and more secure and less likely to have your name be the one up on the news in the news cycle, right? Or the next company shut down due to lockbit operation, right?
I think that's well said, because all of us here are, you can talk about security and like the fundamentals and the blocking and tackling, but to Naresh, your original point is like, this is all to drive a better business outcome. So if you're in IT and you're on this call, like all of our organizations are invested in not just doing the job that we have to do, but the outcome that creates is a better operating environment, a more secure business, reduction in risk for you. And it's like those things and the documentation that we can all help you. So you can show the board, you can show an auditor, you can show a cyber insurance provider, you can show your customers who are now, requiring proof of a lot of this stuff. Hey, we are taking the right steps. We are doing the right things. And you can check the box and not necessarily be secure, but you can be secure in the right ways and therefore be able to check the boxes. And I think that's the outcomes that we're all is about, doing it the right way, and ultimately helping you. So to put a bow on that, Naresh, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to cap off, but then we'll open it up to Q&A, and give folks a chance to chime in here.
Yeah, no, I think you said it perfectly. There is a really good recipe for this to work. You don't have to tolerate security. You don't have to, not innovate. There is a way. And admittedly, not everybody understands. Not every technologist you talk to or you may come across may have the secret sauce for that, right? Coming from the other side of the desk for many years as a buyer of these services, I lived in the shoes. I was the person that would be responsible for procuring these services, for delivering, and for securing organizations for many years. And so, I created CloudSource in response to that because we were getting sold tools. We were not getting sold, or we were not getting advisory on strategy, on how we're going to sleep better at night because every tool will sell the dream. The reality is having lived with them and understand what goes on behind the marketing materials. I used to measure partners that I work with not by how well they closed the deal or how they sold it, but when it hits the fan, are you there with me? Right? Because that's just the world we live in. It's a moving target, right? When it hits the fan, who's there with me? Who's in the trenches? How do you execute at that point? That's how I measure that. And so CloudSource was created from that mindset because I've been in that way too many times and seen too many opportunities to do it right. And as a product of, the cloud source vision and image, we've assembled partners like Optimize and Arctic Wolf who will stand by us and deliver that when we need it for the clients that we have. And our clients will we've had fortunately raving reviews for this type of service because that is true to our fabric and the partners that back us and are in the fight with us, that is part of the DNA as well. And so, you know, not to belabor that point, but there's a lot of check boxes, there's a lot of stuff out there. Assembling it with the right people, with the right driver, with the right pilot, is really key. And somebody who understands business outcomes and somebody who understands strategy and understands not just tool selection, but how it impacts your business in a meaningful way is really what separates us from really the folks that we go up against. And so, pleasure to be here, pleasure to be associated with you guys and in the fight and, collectively serving and protecting a lot of clients and a whole lot more to come. But Michael, I'm sorry, I'm going to turn it over to you for Q&A.
No, that's well said, Naresh. So yeah, we've got a few minutes here. You've got these guys on the line. We can fire away with any questions. It doesn't have to be specific to any certain topic. But yeah, fire away with the Q&A, and then we'll get everybody out of here on time. Let's see. Okay, Naresh, this is for you. You talked about the private cloud earlier. We've got a question here about sovereign cloud. Like, are you hearing this where folks want more control over specific data? Like the question says hearing some buzz about sovereign cloud, like what exactly that is.
Yeah, so I think it's just another kind of view or facet of the benefits of a private cloud, right? I think we've gone, in years past, we saw this mass exodus to the cloud, public cloud specifically. And there was a lot of good reason for that, a lot of good cost reason and claims you know, of ROI in a whole bunch of different ways. And I think the advent of AI being so rampant is helping the situation, but also folks understanding now that the public cloud is a black hole for um, cost, but also control, because you don't know what you don't know, and you trust. But when a provider goes down, you're one of thousands in line, waiting for it to come back up because you have no recourse. Your business is down. And so we decided to pursue the private cloud solution, which is essentially giving and sovereign private, same kind of contextually, same topic here. Giving our customers the control of having the capability of the cloud with cost control and also knowing where their stuff is. And when you call, you get somebody on the phone who is an engineer that knows your environment, that knows and or co-manages it with you if you want to co-manage it or we manage it, whatever the case is. But you get a real person on the phone, and the person is based in the US and they're an employee of CloudSource. And so not the most, you know, advantageous economic model for a business, but it's how we sleep at night. um, Knowing that the person first of all, somebody's going to answer the phone, they're going to be in the US, and they're going to be not a ticket taker. They're going to be somebody who knows how to solve because they probably were participant to building your and managing your environment. Um, again, that's what we bet on because and our clients are absolutely thrilled by that. That's what they come to us for. They don't come to us for the cheapest solution. They don't come to us for, the most convenient. None of those things. They come because they understand the value of sovereign cloud, private cloud, having that control and the trust in a local resource, local to the US resource, um, that they know they can, qualified, capable, competent, that they can trust their business to be backed by.
Yeah, I think that's all three of our organizations is
Yeah.
like to end the AI buzz with back to the humans is like when you're in it, like you said, you want to be able to talk to somebody. And I think that's the approach that all three of our organizations have, is making sure you can get a hold of somebody, you can talk to somebody. And that's vital, especially for the day-to-day practitioners who are, under a lot of pressure sometimes to get answers and get things resolved. So we're up on time here. We've got the, cloud source is the connective tissue that ties all of this together. The cloud, the defending with Arctic Wolf. If you're interested in a fresh approach at your pen testing, third-party risk assessments, we can help there at Optimize. And you can contact them at cloudsource.us. And if you go to the contact page there, you'll get in touch with one of those humans who's US based very quickly, and Naresh and the team will do a great job connecting you to whether it's Arctic Wolf, Optimize, both, some of their other partners in other areas. They do a great job of that. But from the offensive side, if you've heard anything, obviously you got Justin as one of the leaders on the team. Him and his team do a great job. We'd be happy to work with you on, not only the external and internal tests, but AI applications, mobile apps, web apps, all of those things. We can help test and work with you to make sure you've got a plan to go secure those aspects of your environment. And Matt, Naresh, Justin, if you guys want to sign off, we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, I'll go since you've named me first. It's been a pleasure talking today, and like Michael kind of said, if you guys are interested in learning more about Arctic Wolf, I'm mapped directly to Naresh and CloudSource, and so get a hold of them, get in touch with them, and they'll loop me in, and we can have an even more in-depth conversation about defense and how we're stopping the evil Justins of the world.
The alter ego.
That's right.
Yeah, well, I appreciate everyone coming in and listening to us today. I like to say to my customers, my clients, like I'm here for you guys. Like this is the reason I'm here, is to be here for you, to help with whatever that, whatever it might be, offensive wise. Here's your report. It doesn't just end there. It's like, hey, let me help you with figuring out how we can best fix this. Let me also sit here and be there for you whenever you need the mitigation testing, right? So we fixed an issue. Can you come check if it's actually fixed? Um, so yeah, I obviously love what I do, and you guys, appreciate you letting me come and talk to you guys. Please feel free to reach out and holler at me.
Holla at
All
me.
right,
So
Naresh, you're last.
yeah. So listen, guys, I really appreciate everyone that is viewing, giving us the chance to, if you've talked to me before, you understand I use the term, the small army that CloudSource has. We do have a small army internally, but with teams like Optimize and Arctic Wolf supporting us, that army is pretty significant and nothing to sneeze at. It's not what I call the MSP checkbox. We are supporting from the largest enterprise organizations in many verticals to the average, small, mid-sized business, in any vertical also. And so the beauty about what we do is that our solution is not, we take that very complicated, very comprehensive enterprise capability and make it accessible and economically affordable and reachable for really every single business out there. And so, thank you guys for the time. Justin, I really appreciate the deep dive into, the intimidating deep dive into your world. We'll do another scarier dive another time. But listen, it's the topic at hand is sobering, and unfortunately, it takes, that gut punch for people to understand, that it's not just an option. It needs to be taken serious because, it will bring you to your knees if you're not taking this serious as a business. And so appreciate you guys. Thank you for the time, Michael. I appreciate you moderating, and I'll turn it over to you to just sign us off.
You bet. Thanks, everybody. This will be sent out, so the recording will be ready, within today at some point, and we'll get an email out to everybody who attended. And so feel free to share this with your colleagues, friends, family, whoever. But you will get the recording, and we thank you again. So with that, have a great afternoon. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen. Signing off.
Thanks, everyone.